Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
So I realized this morning that I'm getting really spoiled of the kids being acolytes for me because I had to go get my own book. And I was like, wait, no one's come to get my book for me yet. So, and I was like, oh, well, I've had acolytes a lot lately. So sometimes I have to get used to back doing things for myself again. So bear with me while I figure out how to do things for myself again. I can be really high maintenance, guys, if given the chance. Okay, so our gospel for today. This is the very end of the Road to Emmaus story. And we read the Road to Emmaus story every year, but we read a different chunk of it. And so this year we're at the end of it. And I'm assuming most of you are somewhat familiar with the story of the Road to Emmaus, but Jesus is dead. Some of the disciples are wandering down the road, and they're really sad because Jesus is dead, and it was very traumatic for them. And they're talking about it, and that random dude comes along, and he inserts himself into their conversation. Oh, that's weird and rude. But they're talking anyway, and he inserts himself into the conversation. He's like, well, have you thought about these things? And they're like, wait, what? And he's like, well, yeah. So they're walking along. And then eventually, boom, they realize it's Jesus that, we've been talking to this whole time. So yeah, but here's the deal. They don't realize it's Jesus until he says their names to them, until he makes it clear who he is. And one of the really fun things about this story that I really enjoy is Jesus convincing them that he's not a ghost. Because I think that's funny. Like, I think there's a level of humor in this story that should not be lost on any of us. Because Jesus shows up, and they're all huddled around being scared because, Jesus has just died, and what if they come and kill us? I mean, these are legitimate concerns. I know I'm saying them flippantly, but these are legitimate concerns at the time. And so they're all hiding out, and Jesus is like, boom, I'm here. And they're like, maybe the grain went bad, and we're hallucinating. I don't know. But this is weird. And he's like, no, it's really me. And they're like, is it you? And he's like, no, really, truly, because ghosts don't have skin. And they're like, well, I don't know, maybe they do. And he's like, well, touch me, ghosts don't have skin. And they're like, I mean, who wants to touch a dead body? Y'all, don't nobody want to touch no ghost. I don't want to touch a ghost. And they're all like, oh, that's nice, Jesus, you got a body. So then what does he do? He's like, well, just give me something to eat. I mean, if you're dead, you don't need to eat. And they're like, okay, fine, whatever. Get some extra fish. Don't drink the grain, because clearly that's gone bad, because we're all hallucinating. And so he eats some fish in front of them, and they're like, oh, it is you. Because turns out, I don't know if y'all know this about dead people and ghosts and whatnot, but apparently they don't eat. I didn't know that myself, but turns out they don't. And that's what it takes for them to be like, oh, it's Jesus. And then he can actually open their minds up. But the first thing that he says to them is the very key to this story. Peace be with you. Why are you so afraid? Peace be with you. And that is central for us to hear. Because for so many of us, peace is something that we seek, and we have an idea that it's an external force, that peace is the absence of stuff that irritates us. Have you ever thought about it? Like, peace is me not being uncomfortable. That's what I want, right? I mean, I want to be like in my little cocoon, cozy, not snowing in the middle of April, just saying. But that is peace, me being comfortable, right? That's not peace. That's not peace. Peace is not the absence of my being uncomfortable, but the understanding that while all those things are going on, there's something greater. That there are other things that are more important. That is peace. Peace is not stillness in the wind roaring outside. Peace is stillness in my heart. And that's what's so important, because peace is not an external thing. Peace is within us. Because the reality is, the disciples are still under threat. All this stuff that they were afraid of is still there to be afraid of. That hasn't changed. What has changed is their realization that that's not the most important thing. And that is what I think we need to hear, because we are all always searching for being comfortable, thinking that that equates to peace. But that isn't it at all. Peace is something that we find within ourselves. And once we find that peace, we are equipped to go out and do the work that we are called to do. We are equipped to thrive in our life instead of simply surviving, looking for the next comfortable situation. I don't know, the next Cadbury egg for some of us. Like, seriously, I am that person who's like scurrying around to find the 80% off Easter sales and being like, are there any Cadbury eggs left? There aren't, by the way. If you're curious, there are not any. So here's a fun little piece of brain information that I think is really important, because, and I'm guilty of this as much as anyone. Like, my 3-year-old is throwing a temper tantrum. I'm like, calm down! What? That is the most illogical thing to say, let alone yell at them. Has anyone ever been stressed out, like meltdown mode, and someone yells at you, calm down, and you're like, oh, thanks. That did it. Why didn't I think of that myself? No, it doesn't work. And because here's why. So, we're just going to go with the non-scientific approach, because I'm clearly not a scientist. I mean, I like to wear white, but clearly not a scientist. And so it goes something like this. So back here in the very base of your little brain is what we call the lizard brain. That's because when we were, starting, and we were our little lizard selves. I mean, lizards. I know, I like to have this image in my head. Guys, I drank a lot of coffee this morning. Like a lot. And it was really strong. So we call that the lizard brain. It's like your amygdala and a bunch of other weird stuff. Okay, and that is the part that runs your body when you are in freak-out mode. And you've all been there, right? Heart starts racing, your brain just shuts down, and you're in reaction mode, right? So if you're really, really angry, we've all been in that rage mode, right? I'm not the only one, am I? Okay. Or when you're really, really scared. Anyone else been there? Okay. Anyway, I'm going to assume you have. So we revert to the lizard brain. Now, when you are calm and able to make good choices, you're in the front. We call that the wizard brain, because it rhymes with lizard. See that? See that? See that thing that I did there? The wizard and lizard? Okay. So, and it's like your frontal lobe and all sorts of weird stuff. I don't know. Speak to a neurologist if you want more technical terms. So that is the part of your brain that makes good choices. When you're thinking, making good decisions, that's the part of your brain that's firing. Here's where things get interesting. You cannot use both at the same time. That's why it doesn't work to yell at a kid who's having a temper tantrum, calm down, because they can't. Because you cannot, and you're like, well, you didn't make any very good choices just now. Well, no, because you can't make any choices because you're freaking being a lizard. Have you ever seen a Tyrannosaurus Rex make a good decision? No. I mean, I hope you've never seen one. If you have, talk to me later, because you got into the grain that went rotten and now you're hallucinating. We'll have a different conversation. But we can't. You can't fire those two at the same time. So we must calm down the lizard before you can move into the wizard. This is important. This is important. This does actually relate to my sermon, believe it or not. I know you're really wondering that right now. But it does. Because the reality is, it is not until we are at peace, that we find that peace, that we are equipped to actually do what we are called to do. And this is true of us as individuals. This is true of us as family systems. This is true of us as church systems. I'm just saying it might possibly be true of us as a country too. I don't absolutely know that to be certain. I'm just throwing out something that might possibly be the case. Take it for what you will. So when Jesus goes to the disciples, what's the first thing that he says to them? Calm down! Like in the same way that I yell at my 3-year-old, like, what the? Calm down! But he does it better than I do. Because he's like, okay, deep breath, peace be with you. Let me show you who I am so you feel safe again, so you feel at peace again. And when you are there, when you find that peace within yourself, you will be equipped to go out and do the work that you are called to do as Christians. You will be equipped to remember the things that I have said to you. You will be equipped to open your mind and your heart to the scriptures and what I am teaching you. And then, and only then, can you live the life that you're called to live. Folks, there's a reason. Does it kind of connect now? You're like, oh. If it doesn't, don't tell me that. I'll just feel bad. Because we are called to do the things that we are called to do, but sometimes those are hard to do. And we are so busy surviving, when we are so busy just freaking out all the time, panicking about everything, we cannot follow the way of Christ because we're freaking out. We're just trying to survive, and we don't even know who we are anymore. We're living in the lizard. And so today, I say to you, peace be with you. Peace be with you. And if you're kind of like me and you get hangry, then ask first, do you have any food?
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.